I go next to Paul in Bromley. Paul, do we need to build more prisons?
Possibly, but I think the ones we've already got need to be fit for purpose, as in not making it a place where, I mean, there's a programme on tonight, I think, on the TV, that basically the prison service, the officers aren't in charge. If you're a drug addict, then the best place to go, it seems to be, is in prison. And they're not places where it's, it doesn't appear to be a place that you not that bothered about if you go back again.
Well, are you arguing that the prisons should be harsher, Paul? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that they should do what they're meant to be doing, which is punishing people. The lady just said, you lose all your freedoms, and not just, some of them, and there's cliques of, prisoners that seem to be in control, not the prison officers.
Well, there are certainly big problems in our prisons, and one of them, of course, is radicalisation. Islamic radicalisation is happening in our prisons, and you would have thought, Paul, we could deal with that. But the basic question I'm asking tonight isn't so much about the conditions in prison, important though that debate is. Mine is about numbers, and I think that the Justice Secretary today has completely flunked it. We can't go on, surely, Paul, without building more prisons.
Well, if reoffending came down 10, 15, 20%, because they were not places you really want to go into if you've stolen a loaf of bread, for example, then you wouldn't have so much of a problem with the numbers. But I do agree on the numbers. It seems like you need to build more prisons. But first of all, make the places already got places that are punishing you.
So there's too much TV and too many mobile phones, Paul, yeah?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Sounds like. Well, I have to say that is a view that is commonly shared, and a lot of people would say, make prison really, really tough, and then nobody is going to want to go back. And I get that, and I think there is an element of punishment, but I also strongly feel, particularly with first-time offenders, that prison needs to be a place where perhaps they can learn something and do something, maybe better themselves, maybe have a chance of getting out and getting a job. And we have to remember that quite a lot of prisoners, are people who come from difficult family backgrounds, have failed badly at school. So yeah, I get the punishment bit, but, Paul, I would argue, give first-time offenders a chance to get better and improve. My first Facebook message is Georgina Oliver, who says, find a deserted island somewhere and send the whole lot there. Well, how very enlightened, Georgina. We could do that, but I think actually as a civilised country, we absolutely have to, particularly with these first-time offenders, try, if we can, to reform them. Matthew in Newcastle, 85,000 people in prison, bursting at the seams. Do we need to build more?
No, certainly not. Hello, Nigel. First time caller.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. So what do we do, Matthew? What do we do? What's the solution?
Well, I joined the prison service. I'm retired now. Many years ago. First thing in the morning, we paraded in full uniform. We owned those landings. Nobody disrespected us, but we also showed respect to the inmates. The biggest problem you've got is prisons for profit and no respect from the inmates to the staff and the staff to the inmates. Nowadays, you see prison officers walking round in half uniforms, training shoes and everything. It's a disciplined service. It needs to return to discipline. All this nonsense of televisions and radios and games, rubbish. Lock them up, keep them behind the doors, give them what they're entitled to, then let them out. Then start rehabilitating them. Prison officers are turnkeys. That's the old-fashioned saying. That's what we're there to keep them away from the public. Whilst they're in prison, you teach them to behave, then you let them out, and then you start rehabilitating them. There is no other way. You cannot run prisons for profit. Sorry,
so
that's
Matthew,
my rant over.
No. I mean, look, I'm pleased. And how long did you serve as a prison officer?
16 years. I got medically retired.
Right. And so why has there been a breakdown of discipline within the prison service itself?
Nigel, you know as well as I do, there's far too many people that want... how can I say this without being very rude to everybody? There's far too much of a blame game these days in every single walk of life. You do something, you get sued. People are frightened to death. When I was there, people used to call me Sir and Mr. by my surname. And I used to talk to them. I used to talk to them respectfully, and we never really had many problems. Yeah, every walk of life, discipline service, you're going to get problems, but we didn't have the problems what we had now. It's all to do with the blame game. Stop the blame game. Give the prison service some money. Recruit all these ex-squaddies that are coming back from the wars. Give them a job, and I'll tell you what, within 10 years, you'll have a decent prison service again.
Well, Matthew, that's really interesting. One quick little question for you, and I hear exactly what you say, but is there surely not an argument that whilst people are in prison, they might have a chance to learn something and better themselves too?
The prison service is finished. As it is now, the inmates rule the prisons. The staff in these... with the security companies that are running. HMP Birmingham, I served many terms at HMP Birmingham. I worked at Parkhurst, Wormwood Scrubs, worked all around the country because of a certain discipline I had. And I'll tell you what, Birmingham was a fantastic prison to work at, but they just decimated the staff. Nobody was allowed to say anything, do anything. The prisoners took control. And I'm sorry to say this, Nigel, the Human Rights Act took over. And you're well aware of that. You weren't allowed to do anything. Yeah. In some respects, I'm glad I came out. I'd be up to me 30-odd years now if I was still in. But I'm glad I'm not there now. I've got some very good friends that are still in, and they hate it.
Matthew, a depressing picture about what's going on in our prisons, and we thank you very much for your call.